We're all here. Let's learn. We are up to We're talking about different kinds of rain, and we brought up before there's two kinds of rain, Yoira and Malkush. So we are going to discuss now what the difference between these two kinds of rains are. Says the Gemara, Tanur 4 lines on the top of the page. First of all, what does the word Yoira actually mean? Why would you refer to rain as Yoira? Rain normally is Mata. What's Yoira? So the Gemara says that Yoira actually means the following. Yoira shemoira es habrius. It's like it directs people, or makes them aware. Now is the time, or alerts them, lahatiach gagesein, to make sure they cover their roofs, all the cracks in the roofs, and they fill with cement. Lahachnis es peiresein, to bring their fruits into the house. Do all their needs. Remember, Yoira is the rain that comes in the month of Cheshvan, and Malkush is the rain that comes much later. So that's what it means, that it gives them, it makes them alert. Another meaning perhaps is that it actually fills the earth, and it gives it liquid water out to him all the way to the deep. It says in the pasuk, that it fills up all the furrows, that it's calm, all the bevivin to and that everything starts growing, and that's what rain is. So therefore, the word Yoid is the word merava, filling up. Another meaning is she yoided benachas, it comes down calmly. In other words, where does yoida calmly, but any it doesn't come down in a big storm, fierce. Where does the word yoida demonstrate that it comes down calmly? So Rashi gives a few pshatim. One is yoida is a teacher, and a real teacher is someone who never loses their temper, has plenty of patience, and as it says, divrei chachamim benachas nishmar. Words of the chachamim are said always calmly. Another meaning, says Rashi, equally so, is yoira also means to throw an arrow. And talking about somebody throws an arrow that's straight into the bullseye, it doesn't deviate in any direction. It goes straight, so it's calm. Wild, when it's ferocious, it's wild and it falls everywhere. Says the Gemara, how do you know that's the definition of Yoida? Maybe Yoida means it throws off the fruits, and it throws off all the seeds, it washes them out, washes away all the trees. Maybe that's what it means. Tamalamer comes to tell you Malkush. It says Yoida Malkush. So we're going to compare the word Yoida to the word Malkush. Malkush lebrocha. Just like Malkush is in a positive vein, that kind of rain is positive. So too, because Rashi explains, it cannot mean coming to break down the silos or to throw away all the fruits and everything else, because at that time they haven't yet grown the fruits. The fruits haven't yet grown the trees, so what's it going to throw away? And definitely the silos aren't full. So it must be that Malkush is good rains and must be all positive. And what then fills up all the crop that's starting to grow with water. So too, Yoira is in a positive vein. Says the Gemara, how do you know? Oh, maybe Malkush, okay, maybe it doesn't destroy the fruits and the trees because they haven't been growing yet, but maybe Shemapilas Aboti, maybe it's called Malkush because it destroys homes. Maybe it's a curse, a negative thing. And Umishaberes Elon breaks the trees. Umalas Sakain, and it causes the locust to come and take over. I know it's a positive. We're comparing Malkush to the word Yoida. Ma Yoida lebrocha, Yoida is positive. Af Malkush lebrocha. So too is Malkush positive. Says the Gemara, but Yoida movement on how do you know Yoida is positive? Because see, we have another pasuk altogether where it says Bnei Tzion Gilu, the people of Tzion, the children of Tzion were happy. V'simcha b'Hashem lekechem. Why were they rejoicing? Ki nasan lechem es hamoyda l'zdaka. He gave you moyda because he was generous. So we see that moyda is a good thing. V'yoyda lechem geshem. Moira Malkush Berishan, and it will come down to you rain, Moira or Malkush Berishan in the month of this. So we see from here that Yoira is a positive thing, so Malkush is a positive thing as well. And so this Gemara is the most puzzling Gemara, and the Mepharshim have an extremely difficult time. In fact, the conclusion of most Mepharshim is that a lot of words here shouldn't be here. The Gemara starts off saying that Yoira is a good thing. Then we say Haino, maybe it's a bad thing. So we say we compare it to Malkush. Then we say, but Haino Malkush is a good thing. We compare it to Yaira. But you just said Mingo the Yaira is a bad thing. So then we bring a pasuk that Yaira is a good thing. So what's the whole discussion then? As soon as the Gemara said Haino Yaira is a good thing, we should have brought that pasuk. And the Gemara back and forth just that Yair is like Malchus and Malchus is good, and we say hey, Malchus is good, for Yair is good. But we just said a minute ago that Yair might not be good. Very difficult Gemara. So and also, want to say there's a lot of words here that shouldn't have been here, and the printers put the Gemara together incorrectly.
And also, they could have said that. So they could have said they're both good because they're in the Shema in part of the blessing part. So
we'll soon see that it could be also. It could be that it's not such a good thing, as we'll see in a minute. Says the Gemara, Torah we learned. The Gemara doesn't bring that. Torah we learned. Yair b'mar Cheshvan, Yair falls down in Cheshvan and Malchus. The rain called Malchus that falls down in the month of this. You say Yair is the month of Cheshvan and Malchus. Listen, the Yair b'Tishrei Malchus be, and maybe Yair falls down in the month of Tishrei, when there's still the stalks are still growing and the ears are still full, and Malchus is a month of the ear. It has to be in the right time. The right time is the year is in Cheshvan, and Malchus is in Nisan. So that's the best time, but that's the optimum time for these things. The best time for the rains to begin is actually the month of Cheshvan. Tishrei is a little bit too early. Says the Gemara, what is it? The word Malchus. What does the word Malchus mean? Dover Shemol, something that breaks Kashya saying to Yisrael, the stiff-neckedness, the stubbornness of the Bnei Yisrael. Because why is it called Malchus? If it doesn't rain, if the rain doesn't rain, we'll learn later the Gemara, people used to fast and do tshuva. So this lack of rain breaks us. So that's why it's called Malchus. And it causes us to be Malchus, 2 words, break Kashya, our stiff-neckedness. Because he learns it's something that fills up the tvua while it still has its ears, it fills them up. That it's something that falls on top of the millers and the cushion. Cushion are the stalks, and millers are the ears on top. Says the Gemara, Tanam we learned. Yed is marchesh and malchus. Another brayse, Yed is and chesh and malchus. Maybe it's kisset tamlan b'iter. Yoda Malchus, it says Yoda Malchus. We said that in Shema, as you just pointed out. Yoda Malchus. Malchus be'ita. Malchus is beneficial if it's in the right time. Af Yoda be'ita. Yoda also has to be in the right time. And once you pass Nisan and rains, we said actually it's bad. In the summer, rain is a bad thing. Tani Edelin in another place. Yoda is in Cheshvan and Malchus. These are only actually what we said till now. Divrei Meir. This is the opinion of Meir. The Chachamim say Yoda is big Kislev. Chachamim said Yoda is Kislev. Man Chachamim. Who are these Chachamim? Who holds that Yoda is actually Kislev? In other words, this is the optimum time to start raining is much later in the winter. Says Al-Chizah, that's actually Rabbi Yosi. Tanya, we learned what's considered the first rains. So he says here, the very first rain start off the 3rd day of Cheshvan. The Machesh Bainis, intermediate rains, is B'Shiva by the 7th day of Cheshvan. And Afela, the late rains, are B'Shiva also by the 17th day of Cheshvan. David Ameh. We'll soon see what the difference is. Rabbi Yehuda says, no, B'Shiva is the first rains. So according to Rabbi Meir, the time span between the 3rd and 7th is 4 days, and the 7th and the 2nd and 3rd rain is 10 days. According to Rabbi Yehuda, the first rain is 7th day of Cheshvan, and the second rain is 17 days. So between the first and second is 10 days, and the third rain is Be'eser Shleisha, which is 7 days later. Why I'm pointing that out, we'll see in a minute. Rabbi Yosi says B'Yud Zayin, the first one is the 17th day of Cheshvan. And Be'esim V'Shleisha is the intermediary. U'Rosh Chodesh Kislev is the third. So every 7 days. Remember, the Talmidei Chachamim don't fast. The Yechidim are called individual because only the first fast days are Talmidei Chachamim. They don't have to fast until the 3rd time of rain appears, and it doesn't happen. It's supposed to happen, it doesn't happen. So therefore, it's very important to know when the 3rd time of rain is, whether it's, and according to Rabbi Yosi, it's Chodesh Kislev. Yeah. Says the Gemara. So when we said before, the Chachamim say that Yair is a time of Kislev, that's Rabbi Yossi who said that Rosh Chodesh Kislev is when it's supposed to be the main rains. And for that, if not, that's a trigger for the Chidin Tamil Chachamim to fast. Amar Rabbi Chizda halacha Rabbi Yossi, halacha Rabbi Yossi. Yeah, the halacha Rabbi Yossi. Ameima Masar Rabbi Chizda b'halishta. Ameima, however, he said before that the halacha is like Ram Gamliel in the name of Rabbi Chizda. Allah is like Ram Gamliel, and Zayin Cheshvan is when you begin saying we say Talmud Lebracha. Therefore, how can he say we have Chizah that the halacha like Rabbi Yossi that Rosh Chodesh Kislev when the rain is meant to be? So therefore, he had another version of Chizah. Zeva Meima says, I heard what Rabbi Chizah said was Shloisha Macheshvan Shoyle Zeksham Gamliel Meshivaboy. That's what he said. That the halacha is like Ram Gamliel, the 7th day of Cheshvan, not Rosh Chodesh Kislev. Says the Gemara. So who's the author of the following? Or who does this side with the following? Shiva Yomim Ze Achazeh. The rain, the 3 rains appear 7 days, intervals of 7 days. Who holds that there's a period of 7 days between one rain and the next? That is Kirab Yesi. Remember, I just told you it's from the 17th to the 23rd to the Chodesh Kislev. Even though it's not exactly, as Teresa says, not exactly 7 days, because Cheshvan is always 30 days, so therefore Chodesh Kislev will be the 8 days. So Teresa says, doesn't mean, don't think that 2 hours a day is a day. It's exactly 7 days of 24 hours. So if the first day started at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the 7 days later, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, will actually be the 8th day. So it makes sense. Okay, more wants to know now, what do we have to know about the intermediary rains? We need to know the first rains, that's when you begin asking. And we need to know the last rains, that's when you begin fasting. But what's the relevance of the intermediary rains? Says the Gemara. The first rains, to know when to begin saying the same Talmud Lebracha. Is it the 3rd day, the 7th day, or is it the 17th in Israel? What do you call it? Shlisha, the 3rd rains is important to know, at least that's a trigger. If it doesn't rain by then, that the Yechidim have to fast. They fast Bahab, Monday, Thursday, Monday. The 2nd intermediary range, why do we need to know that? What's the relevance? If a person makes a vow, when it comes to vows, we don't look at the halacha, we look at how people express themselves and what they mean with those words. So the vernacular, especially the local vernacular, is extremely important. So this is but now we learn what's the case. If somebody makes a neder ad hakshamim, he says, I will not enjoy this thing, I won't eat meat, whatever it is, until the rain season. Which rain season is the person referring to when he says the rain season? That is what? Only the 2nd intermediate rain. The first rains are not really considered rains, but when people talk about rain, they mean the 2nd rains. Rabbi Zvid says similar, but let's say talking about olives. What about olives? Now we learn when is everybody permitted to eat from leket shiklapeh? These are different kinds of laws to do with agriculture. So leket, when you collect, you have to leave 1 or 2 sheets for the poor. Shikla, if you forgot something behind you, now to go back to pick it up. If it's in front of you, you can go to pick it up. But if it's behind you, if it's 1 or 2 sheets, you can't pick it up. The pay at the corner of your field. So when do we say it's open to everybody, that the poor have sort of abandoned hope of it finding anymore, and anybody can go, if they find something on the floor, they can keep it. Once the toppers, once the people who touch everything, we'll soon see what the mushes are, once they go through the field, then it's open slather for everybody, even the rich can come there because everyone else was miyayish. Now, who are these the mushes? We'll see in a minute. The peret. Okay, so once the mushes come in, it's permitted for everybody. What about the peret? The peret is the same thing as the other ones. And ba'elis, these have to do with the grapes. When they can, you have to leave some for the poor people. When can they come in? Once the poor people went into the vineyard, they went back and forth, nobody else can take anything. And bezeisim, when it comes to the olives, when do we say that it's open slather for everybody? It is when what do you call it? Once the 2nd rains come by, then nobody bothers looking for these olives. So we see here that the second rains are important for olives. So talking about this, we want to know what in the world are these nemushas that you said once the nemushas come by, everybody can take from the payah. My nemushas these are old people that walking on canes or on walking sticks. So they walk very, very slowly. So they would have noticed if there's anything still left, they would have noticed. And therefore, after that, no poor person is going to waste his time going to that field. Rish Lakish says, lekute basa lekute. Usually a poor person brings his whole family with him or his son, and after he goes, he has his son following him just to see if he missed anything. And after that, they were so faru that nobody's going to waste the time going there, so it's open slather. Now, Papa says, when anybody can come to these fields and see if there's any pay left over, they can keep it, even rich. Once Yeshua made all these laws that when the fields are not being used for planting, the people can use it as a shortcut. So once these fields open up as a shortcut, no, there's nothing left in the field, then it's open slather that anybody can come and take from there. Everybody can go until the second rain start coming, because from now on, that's when the tfuah is starting to grow, and if you don't even walk near it, because you might trample on the seeds and destroy them. Says, why you need to know the second rains? To destroy some of the fruits of Shemitah. Because what is the rule? The yardstick for every fruit is different than the next. And the rule is as follows. And now we learn, till when can you enjoy and you have to burn teva nekash, the straw, shall shvi the Shemitah. The second rains, that's the season for destroying it. And my timer, why the second rains? The chesiv. Because this is the criteria as to when you have to destroy Perish Shvius. It says in the pasuk that all the tevuah should be hefker. You should leave it out there for everybody, for behemoths and the chayes in your land. They should be eating it. So we say, kolzman shechai. So when we behemtecha ulchai, why say both? So we say kolzman shechai yoichelu. So as long as the animals have their fodder out in the field and teichel behemtecha bayis, keep the food in the house, and you can feed it to your domestic animals. There's no longer anything growing out in the field. It's like winter. Then, and once it's no longer available for the wild animals, then they can no longer keep it in your house and feed your animals. You have to make it hefker. So when it comes to straw, we know that it's no longer available in the fields once the second rains begin. Because the second rains already turn everything into mud. It's no longer considered food. Ravu said, and my lashon revia. What is the expression revia? We say revia l'shayim. We call the rains revia. What does revia mean? Davar shereveh as a karka. It's like a relationship with a husband and wife, something that like fertilizes the ground. Like Huda says that rain is the husband of the earth. In other words, it makes it fertile. It says it makes it grow and produce. It says in Pasuk, just like the rain in the snow comes down in a shmai from heaven. It never comes back. It just satisfies the land and causes it to give birth, to grow. So we're comparing rain to a case of procreation of in the human form. The Amar Ravu said, what's considered the first rains? What's the purpose of the first rains? We wanted to get absorbed in the soil at least up to 1 tefach deep. The second rains are that now the soil becomes so wet and so moist that you don't have to make a separate lid for a barrel. You just take the dirt, now it's like mud, and it solidifies quickly, and that's it. You don't have to add any more water to it because it's good, it's soaked through and through. Is enough to cover the lid of a barrel. So he says here, if sufficient rain came down into the soil and it soaked it into the soil that now you can make a lid straight from there, then it's no longer considered as if the Eibusher held back the rains because plenty of rain have already come down. What's a rain that comes down in the morning before you said Krishna, before you leave is the optimum time for rain to come in the first thing in the morning, and therefore it's no longer like Hashem holding the rain back. Says the Gemara, not the morning Krishna, it means the evening Krishna. If it comes in late afternoon, the rain, beautiful. Before the morning Krishma, yesh behem shuvata. Then it can still be considered as if the Eibush is holding back the rain, because it's not the best optimum time for the rain to be first thing in the morning. If the rain comes right before the evening, then it sits in the ground all night long and it gets absorbed. If it's first thing in the morning, the sun comes out, it evaporates, it didn't really do anything. It says in the pasuk, Hani and Ani. It says Hani and Ani the Safra, the clouds of the morning, less behu mashasha, have no real sustenance, and it's not really a blessing, even though it'll cause rain. See, if it says the passing, what should do for you, Ephraim? What should do for you, that the chasatchem is so bad that all your generosity is kanan breaking the clouds in the morning and they just disappear. People, there's a saying by people, a colloquial saying, which seems to fly in the face of this, what you just said. It says, people say, if you open the front door in your house in the morning and the first thing you see is rain, Bar Chamra, if you happen to be a driver of the donkeys, is close up your sacks. You're not going to be able to sell any wheat because there'll be such an abundant supply of wheat in everybody's houses. We don't need you anymore. It'll be a very blessed year. There'll be plenty of food. Interesting that we're asking a question on the buyer from who brought a pasuk from a colloquial saying from people, as to say, but the facts are differently. You don't find that often that we're asking a kasha on a pasuk from the Metzias how we see the world. But here you have a case where the Papa has to buy. The pasuk says that the clouds of the morning are worthless, the rain in the morning are worthless, and yet people say rains in the morning are beneficial, and it's a blessing. Says the Gemara like kasha. He didn't just dismiss it out of hand. He doesn't say, "Oh, the world is what I'm talking about." He's like kasha. Hadikata be evil, hadikata banana. There are two kinds of clouds. If they're thick clouds, which are like rain clouds, then it's a blessing. But if it's just the clouds that come before, the white clouds or thin clouds, they don't bring the rain, then those clouds are worthless. Omar Rabbi Yehuda says, Tava l'shasa the Tevis are Malta. The best thing for the winter is that the month of Tevis remains a winter. We just said before that rain is the husband of the earth. Well, in the month of Tevis, right middle of the winter, it's better if Tevis remains a winter and there's no rains. Now, why shouldn't it be rain right in the middle of winter? So Gemara gives two reasons. Ikadamri, one says the lebaide tabitze, that Rashi has two interesting expressions. Literally, tabitze means a garden. So the little type should be, which is second shot Rashi, that that you don't fill up too much water on these gardens that don't need all this water. They just they don't need all this water. They don't want too much water. But Rashi brings another pshat, which is very interesting. He says tabitzi means to spread. From yeshivas, yeshivas spread Torah. And the problem is, if it's so rainy and muddy, nobody can go to yeshivas. It's closed down. It's a lockdown. But if it doesn't rain in the month of Tavis, even though it rained before, then the ground is not very muddy. People can go to yeshiva. Another reason is why we don't want rain in Tavis. If it rains in Tavis and the winds come and there's so much mud stuck to the crop, it ruins the crop. But if Tavis is dry, then it's all right. It's not so. The best thing for the year is the Tavis when the Tavis is muddy. It's a good sign. It means there's plenty, an abundant supply of rain. Like Kasha. If it rains in the right time and then it continues into Tavis, that's bad. There's an excessive amount of rain, enough. Then we say it's a bad thing. But if the loy didn't rain at all in Cheshvan and now it rains in Tavis, then it's a good thing. At least we're making up for some of those rains. If you have rain that falls down a part of the country, didn't roll down, it's not a problem of a drought. Why not? Because you can always import from the other side of the country. So when it's not so, it says, excuse me, sorry. It says, Gam Anoichi Manaiti Mikem, I'm denying to you as a geshem, the rain, but in 3 months, like Katze for the harvesting season. Today's person said one city will have rain, one city won't have rain. One section will have rain, one won't. We see that if one region has, one region doesn't, it's not a bracha. It's actually a klala. It's not just the city that's deprived is a klala. The city that will have the rain is also klala, will have too much rain. So the Gemara like cash had us if there's too much rain, then the city that has the crop will get lost anyway, so they can't really export anything. And the other city that have no rain, they have nothing to nowhere to import from. But if the rain comes down normally, so then you have a good crop, then it yields a good crop. Then not only the city that has the rain is blessed, but also the neighboring cities is blessed because he can export to them. See, it says in the pasuk, "I'll make one city rain and one city not rain," because it's what's the word that he usually says, timter. What do you mean timata? What kind of word is timata? So he says timata, tehei makam mata. The whole place should turn into a rain, in other words, floods, like it's happening now in parts of Australia. Shemamina is a proof. That's talking about excessive rain. That's when it's bad. Otherwise, we can, one region has an abundant supply of rain, then you can pass it, export, and to all the freight in the fruits to all other regions. When do we say we make a brach on rain? When the rain falls down on the ground and then it bounces right back up. It's like a chassan meeting a kala, and that's when it's considered a blessing, and we make a bracha. Or Rashi makes another shot that different streams going different directions, and then they come across against each other. So there's quite a plentiful amount of water. Now there are special brachas we had in brachas about water, but here we're talking about a davening. We say parts of nishmas. We say moedim anachnu l'cha Hashem Elokeinu al kol tipa v'tipa she'irad l'tanolanu. We're thanking you for every drop every drop is a blessing. He used to finish, which is part of Nishmas. Add until we say the words, and then we conclude, Baruch Roiv Hados. Blessed is Roiv Hados, the one who has so many praises. So that's the bracha we make, those parts of Nishmas. We once talked about that the author of Nishmas is questionable. The Rabbein Tam says very interesting things as to who actually authored Nishmas. It wasn't who you think it was. It wasn't the Chachamim. Roiv Haidois, tomorrow a question. Roiv Haidois means the majority of praises. Like Koladois, not all the praises. But the Eibush is missing any praise. Chas v'sholom. What kind of blessing is that? Omar Rabba Amos say Kelai, say the God of blessings. Therefore, you start off saying Roiv Haidois, then say Kel, and Hilcha, therefore, Nimrinu Tzavai, we say both. Kel Haidois, the Roiv Haidois. We say both. Now, the big machlek is showing you exactly whether the gifts we just said at the top is correct. So the Rif has the gifts we have here. We say Kel Haidois and Roiv Haidois. And Roiv Haidois does not mean majority. Roiv means the one who proliferates Haidois and is full of Haidois. And however, so some of the Shainim say, what's the point of saying Roiv Haidois? You already said Kel Haidois. So they say that it means that you should say the first part what Rabbi Yehuda said, and what Rabbi Yechida said, you also add Ilafina Molashina, and you put the two together. Says the rain, a day of rain is greater than the nest of Chis HaMesim. In the beginning of the Sechta, we learned there are three keys, and only the Eibishter has them. One of them was Chis HaMesim, one of them is rain. Rain is greater than Chis HaMesim. Why is that? Because the Ilu, Chis HaMesim, but Tzaddik, Chis HaMesim are only for righteous people. And as we had more Rosh Hashanah, that will be a judgment again. Then, when it comes to Chis HaMesim, the Iluk Shamim is Bein L'Tzaddikim, Bein L'Shem. But rain comes to Tzaddikim, and it comes to Rishonim as well. Now, very interesting is Rashi here when it says that Chis HaMesim is only Tzaddikim. Rashi says, Rishei Oide Gechavim Einon Chayim. When it says Tzaddikim, it means Yidden versus Goyim or Rishonim. So, very big thing, interesting thing. So Rashi saying it seems that all Yidden will come back to Chis HaMesim, and Rashi can learn that some Goyim will also come back to Chis HaMesim. It's only the Rishei Gechavim that won't. The Bach erases these words, Rishei Gechavim Ein L'Chaim. But where does Goyim come in there? We're talking about within Yidden, Tzaddikim versus not Tzaddikim or Rishonim. But that's not the version of Rashi that we have over here, which is quite interesting. And something about it further. Upligan, this argues Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef says that it's equal. You say that rain is greater to Chizr Mason. I say it's equal. But because the rain is equal to Chizr Mason, that is why we say Mashiach Geshem the bracha Chizr Mason. We said last time that the seeds sort of die, they rot away, and then they blossom. That's like Chizr Mason. And then the Gemara continues talking just a few more lines. That rain is as great as Matan Torah. Shenema in Hazinu, it says that Yarev Kamotor Likhi, that my words Likhi will come down like rain. Lekach means my purchase, is what? Is rain, is Torah. Shenema says, Ki lekach Torah nosati lechem, I gave you something desirable. Do not forsake my Torah. So therefore we see that rain is the ness of rain is equal to the Torah that we were given as well. It's even greater than the Matan Torah. It says Yarev Kamot Lichi, that the Torah should be like rain. When you compare one thing, when you compare one thing to another thing, which thing is greater than another one? You always compare the small thing to the larger thing. So you're saying that Torah is Kamot. I mean, Mot is even greater. Rava says that, see, he asks a question. It says Yarev Kamot Lichi. It says that you compare to rain. Uksiv, it says Tizal Katalim Rossi, that you compare my words Torah to do. Which one is it? So we dash as follows: Im Talmud Chacham Haganu. If he's a Talmud Chacham that is worthy Ketal, he's like do. And V'im that means calm and everything else. V'im Lav, if not, or Fehu Kimotar. If not, you should get rid of it, cut it down like motor. What do you mean? Or Fehu Kimotar? You should cut it down like rain. It's an amazing. In other words, like a terrible, like a hurricane or something, when it's a very, very strong rainstorm, it breaks things, do that. And Rashi says here, an amazing Rashi. Yara, if the Talmud Chacham is not a Talmud Chacham Hagan, so Rashi says, Yara if Kamotus, as Rashi says here, sorry, just one second. Hargehu, you should kill him. There's another version of Rashi, which is Hurgahu, which means he deserves to die. But Hargehu means go out and kill him. What exactly does that mean? It's pretty strong language. Okay, we'll continue tomorrow. Mitzvah Shem. We'll talk about how important it is to learn Torah correctly. Okay, everyone have a good day.